When you think of ninja weapons, you probably imagine throwing stars flying through the air, curved swords gleaming in moonlight, and exotic tools straight out of action movies. But the real weapons of the ninja were far more ingenious, more practical, and more deadly than anything Hollywood could invent. Ninjas weren't flashy warriors seeking glory. They were professionals who needed tools that were silent, concealable, multi-purpose, and most importantly, effective. Every weapon had to serve multiple functions because ninjas traveled light and lived in secrecy, while samurai carried their katana openly as symbols of honor and status. Ninjas carried weapons that could be hidden, disguised, or improvised from everyday objects. A ninja could walk through a checkpoint carrying what looked like farming tools, yet possess a complete arsenal. This was the genius of ninja weaponry. It wasn't about having the biggest sword or the most impressive armor. It was about intelligence, adaptability, and understanding that the most dangerous weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming. Let's explore the real weapons that made ninjas the most feared operatives in feudal Japan. These aren't movie props. These are historical tools of shadow warfare, each with its own purpose, technique, and deadly efficiency. The Shuriken is probably the most famous ninja weapon, but not for the reasons you think. In movies, ninjas throw dozens of shuriken with perfect accuracy, taking down enemies from impossible distances. The reality was different. Shuriken were primarily distraction tools. A ninja would throw them not to kill, but to make enemies flinch, duck, or momentarily lose focus. That split second was all a ninja needed to escape or attack. There were two main types. Both shuriken were straight spikes, easy to carry and throw. Here shuriken were the star-shaped versions we recognize, but they were much smaller than movies show, often fitting in the palm of your hand. Many ninjas never used them at all, preferring more reliable weapons. The Ninjato, or ninja sword, is surrounded by controversy. Some historians claim ninjas used shorter, straighter swords than samurai katanas. Others argue this is a modern invention. What we know for certain is that ninjas needed versatile blades. Their swords had to cut, stab, and serve as climbing tools. The scabbard itself became a weapon used as a breathing tube underwater, a blowgun, or a hiding place for poison and small tools. The Kusarigama combined a sickle with a weighted chain. This was brilliance in weapon design. The sickle could cut at close range. The chain could entangle an opponent's weapon or limbs from a distance. The weight at the chain's end could strike skulls with devastating force. One weapon. Three completely different attack methods. Kunai were not throwing knives as movies suggest. They were multi-purpose digging and climbing tools. Shaped like large spikes, ninjas used them to create handholds in walls, pry open doors, or dig escape tunnels. In desperate situations, yes, they became stabbing weapons, but that was never their primary purpose. The true genius of ninja weaponry revealed itself in weapons that didn't look like weapons at all. The Kyoketsu-Shoge was a hooked blade attached to a long rope with a metal ring at the other end. To an untrained eye, it looked like an odd farming tool. In reality, it was devastatingly versatile. The hook could slash or catch enemy weapons. The rope could strangle, bind, or create traps. The ring could strike or be used as a weight. Ninjas could use it for multiple distances, switching between close combat and ranged tactics instantly. Tekko wore hand claws, worn over the knuckles and palms. They looked like innocent metal bands but transformed hands into slashing weapons. Ninjas could climb walls more easily with them, block sword strikes, and deliver devastating punches that could shatter bones. The Fukiya, or Blowgun, was perfect for silent elimination. Disguised as a flute or walking stick, it could fire poison darts from surprising distances. The poison didn't need to be fatal. Often, it was designed to cause temporary paralysis, confusion, or intense pain, allowing the ninja to complete their mission while the target was incapacitated. Ashiko were foot spikes, worn like sandals with metal claws underneath. They provided grip for climbing walls and trees, but could also be used as brutal kicking weapons. Imagine being kicked by metal spikes. The psychological impact alone was devastating. Makibishi were simple caltrops, sharp metal spikes that scattered on the ground. Pursuing enemies would step on them, crippling their feet instantly. But ninjas were clever. They sometimes coated Makibishi with poison or feces, ensuring that even a small puncture wound could become a life-threatening infection. Ninjas were among history's earliest chemical warfare experts. They didn't just carry sharp objects, they carried knowledge of toxins, poisons, and chemical compounds that could incapacitate or kill without leaving obvious evidence. Metsubushi were blinding powders. Perhaps the ninja's most practical non-lethal weapon, ground glass, pepper, ash, and irritating chemicals were mixed and carried in hollowed eggs or bamboo tubes. When thrown into an enemy's face, these powders caused temporary blindness, intense pain, and disorientation. By the time the victim recovered, the ninja was long gone. Poisons came in many forms. Some were fast-acting, causing death within minutes. Others were slow, creating symptoms that appeared days later, making the ninja's involvement impossible to prove. Plant extracts, animal venoms, and mineral compounds were carefully studied and tested. But here's what made ninjas truly dangerous. They understood that poison didn't always need to kill. Substances that cause confusion, paralysis, or violent illness could be just as effective. A guard who suddenly became violently ill couldn't sound the alarm. A target who couldn't move their legs couldn't escape or fight back. Ninjas also used smoke bombs, not the colorful theatrical versions from movies, but practical concealment devices. Mixing specific chemicals created dense smoke that covered escapes, created panic, or masked other actions. Some smoke mixtures included irritating compounds, making them offensive weapons as well as defensive screens. The most terrifying aspect of ninja chemical warfare was its subtlety. A poisoned water supply, contaminated food, or doctored sake could affect an entire garrison without a single blade being drawn. This was psychological warfare as much as physical combat. Understanding ninja weapons means understanding ninja philosophy. Samurai weapons were about honor, tradition, and open combat. The katana was worn proudly, announcing its bearer's status. Samurai fought face to face, following strict codes of conduct. Ninja weapons rejected all of this. They were about practicality over tradition, effectiveness over honor, survival over glory. A ninja would use whatever worked. If a farming tool could be turned into a weapon, it became one. If poison was more effective than a blade, poison was used. This practical philosophy extended to weapon selection. Every ninja carried different tools based on their specific mission. An assassination required different weapons than espionage. Infiltrating a castle needed different tools than escaping through mountains. Ninjas also understood redundancy. If one weapon failed, 3 others could complete the job. If captured and searched, obvious weapons would be found and confiscated. But the real dangers remained hidden in seemingly innocent objects. The ultimate ninja weapon wasn't metal or poison. It was knowledge. Knowing which weapon to use when, understanding human psychology and exploiting fear. Recognizing that sometimes the threat of violence was more effective than violence itself. Modern special forces still follow these principles: versatility, concealment, psychological impact, and mission-appropriate tool selection. The ninja approach to weaponry was centuries ahead of its time. Today, many traditional ninja weapons are preserved in museums across Japan. The Iga Ninja Museum displays authentic tools, showing visitors how each weapon worked and why it was designed that way. These aren't relics of primitive warfare. They're examples of sophisticated military engineering. When you see a Shuriken or Kusarigama in a museum, you're not just looking at a weapon. You're looking at a philosophy made physical, a reminder that true power comes not from the size of your sword, but from the intelligence behind how you use it. The weapons of shadows weren't meant to be seen. They were meant to be felt, feared, and respected. And centuries later, they still teach us that sometimes the quietest tools make the loudest impact. Thank you for exploring the real weapons of the ninja. Subscribe for more authentic historical content that goes beyond the Hollywood myths.